to deal with a specific issue that is in the public domain, I would like to move straight away to the Minister of Finance.
Are you hearing me now? Okay. So, I have been asked, because the Ministry of Finance provides the funding for the New Tobago Airport Terminal project, I have been asked to come and respond to some allegations that are in the public domain made by the leader of the opposition. Now, having looked at the newspapers today, the allegations made by the leader of the opposition can be broken down into three main categories or three main claims. The first one is that there is a cost overrun on the New Tobago Airport Terminal project of 462 million Trinidad dollars. That's allegation number one, or category of allegation number one. The second allegation is that there are multiple instances of failure to meet specifications and building codes on the terminal building's superstructure and foundation, requiring a criminal investigation. And three, the project is behind schedule. So since we in finance financed the project, and before I go on to describe what the project is very briefly, the employer in the contract is the National Infrastructure Development Company, NIDCO, and the contractor is China Railway Construction Caribbean Limited. So those are the two entities, employer and contractor, on the project. The contract was signed in January of 2020, and I have actually a copy here of the first page of that contract, which gives the date, and the contract was actually signed on the 28th of January 2020, which, as we know, is the year that COVID was declared a global pandemic, just a month or two after that. So 28th of January 2020, a contract signed between the National Infrastructure Development Company Limited, NIDCO, and China Railway Construction Caribbean Company Limited, CRCCCL. The original construction contract sum was US 128. I have a fact sheet which I will circulate to the media with these details. The original contract sum for construction was US $128.7 million. This sum of US $128.7 million is inclusive of provisional sums, which are sums where an estimate is made of what the cost is likely to be based on knowledge at the time of executing the contract, and contingencies, which is an amount for unforeseen events and for variations and so on. As of today, the original construction contract sum of US $128.7 million has been exceeded by US $2.5 million, or 2%. Now let me go back to the scope of the project. The project involves the following works: a new state-of-the-art terminal building capable of handling 3 million passengers per year, associated airside infrastructure, including a new and expanded apron and taxiway, aircraft parking and fencing, associated landside infrastructure, including new internal roads and car parking, and outfitting of the new terminal building, including acquisition of new specialized airport equipment. So I'm advised that the contract sum has been exceeded by US $2.5 million, or 2%, as a result of variations arising from enhancements to the ICT and ELV. ELV is low voltage. Components of the project. Worldwide increases in the cost of airport and equipment and construction materials in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, and claims for delays arising from the COVID-19 pandemic, among other things. There is no cost overrun of 462 million, as has been falsely alleged by the leader of the opposition. I want to repeat, as of today, the original construction contract sum has been exceeded by $2.5 million US or 2%. And the issues, I have just outlined them there, would be enhancements to ICT and so on, increases in the cost of equipment and materials around the world after COVID, and delays arising from COVID. The restrictions, the public health restrictions. The project is currently 91% complete. Completion is indeed behind the original schedule as a result of the delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, among other things. The target date for completion of construction is now March 31st, 2025. However, progress on site in the last 9 months, for anybody who has been to Tobago and flown over the site as the plane comes into land, progress over the last 9 months has been remarkable, as anybody who is there would know. And the planned construction, testing, and handover for March 2025 is on schedule, at which point the Airports Authority can commence operational fit-out, training, and readiness to support the planned go-live date of July 2025 in accordance with their schedule. That is the Airports Authority schedule. The foundation and superstructure of the terminal building are safe, and the entire project, including the foundation and superstructure, is being built in accordance with the appropriate international standards and building codes suitable for an international airport. There are no multiple failures of specifications or breaches of building codes as falsely alleged by the leader of the opposition. Now, this information has been given to me by the expert consultants engaged by the Ministry of Finance, since we have to provide the funding for the project, and it's an expensive project. We engaged 2 specialized firms, one an expert international aviation firm of consultants, and the other a construction project management firm. The 2 firms are Mott MacDonald and Gleeds, and their job is to review and monitor the construction and provide the necessary feedback to the Ministry of Finance, since we have to provide the funds for the project as the contractor puts in his monthly invoices. You can Google these entities yourself, but just to give some brief information on Mott MacDonald. Mott MacDonald has 17,000 employees. It has 180 offices across 150 countries world over, and it has won 525 international awards over the last 6 years, and they are internationally recognized as the consultant of choice for some of the most complex engineering projects in the world. It's one of the world's most experienced aviation consultancies, providing aviation advisory, design and program management services to governments, civil aviation authorities, airport companies, equity investors, debt financiers, etc. But you can Google that yourself. Okay, so they are very versed in airport matters. With respect to Gleeds now, Gleeds is a construction consultancy firm specializing in oversight and project management, and Gleeds has been in existence since the year 1885. So that means Gleeds is 139 years old, if I do my maths correctly. And Gleeds has 2,800 employees in 26 countries with 76 offices worldwide. And they provide construction management, construction oversight, and construction project management on a variety of projects all over the world. Again, you can Google them. So, to sum it up, the project is being built to the highest international standards and appropriate building codes for an airport. There is no cost overrun of 462 million, and the project is behind schedule because of COVID-19. I will now open the floor for questions.
Keishan Haynes, Guardian Media. You said delayed because of COVID and other things. Can we get a more breakdown of some of the delays that you would have seen and what would have caused these delays? And I guess since we're looking at the number that you gave, a $2.5 million overrun estimate, break down maybe the cost. Like, so what would have cost this and how would we have reached where we are?
I can't give you all of those.
The mic.
Sorry. Can't give you all those details in this press conference, but that's information is easy for me to provide. What I do know is that the amount for provisional sums and contingencies was somewhere in the order of about $11.5 million, and the actual costing of the provisional items and continuity items is now about $14 million US.
The 11 million you just named is in US.
Yes, and that's in the contract sum of 128.7.
Urvashi?
Minister, good afternoon. Urvashi from TV6.
Sure.
According to the Mott McDonald report, it was suggested that the testing was to begin on or around December 2nd. Are you able to give us an update as to whether that has started?
Testing of what?
The safety testing and so on.
But safety testing of what?
The infrastructure at the new terminal building.
I am not aware of that. The testing I spoke of was the testing of the equipment and the operational elements in the airport. There would have been continuous testing on this project from day one. And I actually have found, Kijan, I have found a breakdown of the various things. So there would be a claim for delay, and then the enhancement to, as I said, the ICT infrastructure, and basically it's a number of different things, you know, the road works on Crumston Road, additional equipment, things like that. It's a very straightforward breakdown. There's nothing earth-shattering inside of here, making up that $14 million.
Was it? Sorry, go ahead. Okay.
Just referring once again to the report, it was stated in the diagnosis that the Ministry of Finance...
Urvashi, I do not know what you are reading from.
Mott
So be more specific, please.
According to the Mott McDonald
Which
report,
Mott McDonald report?
the one circulated, it states...
The one circulated by the Leader of the Opposition?
That's right.
Just be specific, please.
And given that the Ministry of Finance has not stated that this is an incorrect report, can we go along with assuming...
I don't know what you have in your hands. And I don't know what the Leader of the Opposition is referring to either. I will go back to what I am saying, that the project is being built in accordance with the highest international standards. I got that from the international project management consultants that we have engaged from Gleeds today. I got that from them. I asked them. So this is what they told me. I will read what the consultants told me, if you don't mind. Just 1 minute. Under the FIDIC Silver Book form of contract, the contractor is responsible for the design, ensuring compliance with the relevant specification and building codes required by the local jurisdiction. These specifications and codes may be revised or updated over time, with newer versions often incorporating in improvements. However, the project is being built in accordance with the acceptable construction practices and high quality standards.
The Mott MacDonald report?
I don't know what you're talking about.
But you just referred to Mott MacDonald.
I just referred to Gleeds.
No, previously, when you were giving us the update about the terminal, you referred to Mott MacDonald listing a number.
Yes, but I don't know what report you're talking about. Mott MacDonald has made many reports. I don't know what you have in your hands.
Okay, but would it not be prudent of you as Minister of Finance to look at the report to find out if what is being circulated to the national public is true or not?
I have no idea what is being circulated, but what I can tell you is that both Mott MacDonald and Gleeds have reported to the Ministry of Finance that the project is being built in accordance with the highest international standards. What more you want me to say?
I would have thought that, you would have liked to see a report on the progress of it and to find out if what is being said is true or not.
I beg your pardon? I said that both Mott MacDonald and Gleeds have reported to the Ministry of Finance that the project is being built in accordance with the appropriate and applicable international standards for an airport of this type. What else do you want me to say?
Question for you?
Can I help you? I just want to ask.
Kijan,
have they performed-
Kijan, hold on one
Yeah.
second. Can we just move to the she's been holding for a little while?
All right, let me just
Go ahead.
shift a little bit, right? Minister Doris Polo, Guardian Media. One of the things, apart from speaking about the building meeting the standards, as you quoted there, the opposition leader said CEP Limited was fired because of their failure to rubber stamp substandard work.
Would you want a short or long answer to that question? The short answer is
That's possible.
the short answer is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. There was no request made of any consultant to rubber stamp anything. I have just read out for you the brief overview of the two firms of consultants hired by the Ministry of Finance to provide us with the necessary feedback. These are highly reputable consultants, and they would not put their name to any report to the Ministry of Finance confirming that the building is being built to proper international standards. They would not compromise their integrity in that way. So that's utter nonsense. Rubber stamp what you said?
Substandard work to speed up the process so it would have a
Absolute
soft opening.
rubbish. In fact, one of the reasons for the delay in the project was that all of the consultants were being very careful, especially with the events that we're seeing around the world with climate change, in terms of the intensity of hurricanes and so on, being very, very careful to make sure that the design was done in accordance with the proper international standards. So that allegation is rubbish.
Minister, it's my understanding that while they weren't fired, the contract came to an end and it just was not renewed. Is that what happened in your understanding?
That's what happened.
Okay. Can you say why the contract was not renewed? Were you unhappy with the work that CEP was doing?
It was felt there was need to bring on new consultants.
But why?
Why not?
But why?
Well, you have to understand that no consultant in Trinidad and Tobago has done a project of this complexity before. It's the first time. There's not a dolly house. So this is why we in finance felt it was important and necessary to bring on one of the top aviation consulting firms in the world and one of the top construction management firms in the world to advise us.
No, I don't want to misconstrue what you're saying. So you're saying that you felt that it was above the scope of their ability and you've got somebody else. Is that? I don't want to put words. I'm trying to understand.
I didn't say that.
That's what. Please explain. So I'm trying to
I
understand.
just said
It's not a dolly.
I just said that this project is complex and there are no consultants in Trinidad and Tobago that have the experience of a project of this nature. So we just felt we should bring on the best in the world. Are you against that?
No, but I'm saying, did they say that they weren't prepared?
But
or
that,
did you
listen,
feel that
you also have to understand, the Ministry of Finance did not hire CEP Limited. That firm was hired by NIDCO, not by us.
And so whose decision was it to not renew the contract?
Well, certainly it was not the Ministry of Finance.
Okay. Did you have any say in it? Did you know about it? Did you have any thoughts when it was happening?
I felt it was important to bring on these two international firms to advise the Ministry of Finance. Remember, we have to pay for this thing.
And what I was trying to get out of the back and forth you had with Urvashi was,
Kijan, I think Urvashi was going to ask you a question.
No, I was going to ask, what reports do you have from, was it Mott and Gleeds? What reports do you have?
I have many reports. Gleeds reports on a monthly basis.
What is the latest report? So the one from Mrs. Pasabi, I believe, was dated December 2023. I know it was... I can't remember.
January something, because the last meeting quoted in the McDonald report was early January 2024.
Okay, so...
But there's not an actual date on that report.
Correct. So we have one, let's give or take, within the last, about 11 months ago, this is the report that we are looking at. But so are you in sight of a report about 11 to 12 months ago from Gleeds and Ormont?
I'm in sight of 11 reports since December 2023.
Great. And so the one that we're looking at might be outdated, is what you're saying, and they have been
it would appear so. If you're looking at a report that is almost a year old, I don't know what you're looking at, but it would appear so.
Would you be willing to provide us a copy of one of your latest reports, since they come monthly?
I'll have to seek advice on that. But what I can tell you is that they told me today that the project is on target to be completed in March of 2025, and the project is being built in accordance with the highest international airport construction standards. Do you want me to say that more than once again? In other words, in the most recent report to me, a summary of which I have in my hand, which I got this morning, December the 6th, I think. Today is the 5th, sorry. December 5th, 2024, which would be almost a year after whatever you are talking about, if whatever you are talking about is correct. Well, I'm not getting there. Whatever you are talking about is correct. Would have been prepared a year ago. I have in my possession a report from Gleeds, and I've just read it out to you. Do you want me to read it out again?
Okay, so it's my understanding that Gleeds will give you cost estimates based on when you want it. So if we want it finished by March, it will cost this much. If we want it finished by tomorrow, it will cost this much. What is your understanding of the cost now if they are to keep that schedule for March that you have? I'm looking at a table here that says, okay, well, if it's by November, 18 million. If it's by December, 12 million. January, and
I don't know what you're looking at, but what I can tell you is that the agreed variations are totaling $14 million, and the amount in the contract for that type of thing is $11.5 million, so that the excess over the provision in the contract is $2.5 million. I don't know what you're looking at.
Just out of curiosity, why is the Ministry of Finance handling this and not, say, the
We are not handling the project. We are funding the project. The employer, as I indicated at the beginning, is the National Infrastructure Development Company, and the contractor is China Railway. We simply finance it, but because it is such a large sum of money, we thought it prudent to make sure that we had our own oversight, to make sure that when documents are presented to us for payment, because what happens is a request for payment is sent to us, and we just hired our own people to make sure that everything was in order. That's it, basically.
Minister, if I wasn't blocked, I can't speak for the other reporters, but if I wasn't blocked, I could have probably sent the report to you so we could have verified it. But you did speak to some claims by the contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able, well, in this report, which is probably dated, you probably have had sight
Probably
of it months
dated.
ago. Yeah, you probably.
Probably. What's the date? What's the date of that?
The latest.
What's the date of that?
There's no date on it, as we previously said.
So you're saying there's no date on that report you're reading?
The McDonald does not have
Doesn't
a
It does
date.
not have a
And the Glebe,
but if we could have verified with
I just wanted to make sure that.
established how
Hold
COVID
on. Wait a second. So you're telling me you have a report from Mott MacDonald which has no date, and someone else is saying there's a report from Gleeds that has a date?
Yes.
And what date is that?
22nd of November 2024. 22nd of November 2024.
2024. Okay.
You did speak to claims made by a contractor in this probably dated report. It says
Probably dated.
$7.3 million US. Are you able to give us an update on that claim? Has it been before an arbitration board? Has it been settled? And at what cost, if possible?
Okay, let me clear up. Attempt to clear up what I just said about 3 times. In the contract sum of US $128.7 million, there are provisional sums and there are contingency amounts. Now, a provisional sum identifies the nature of the work involved and puts an estimated amount next to it. It's not the actual amount, because quite often the provisional items have to be procured from a subcontractor or another supplier. So the main contractor would be required to go and outsource the provision of these goods and services. So a provision is made, it's called a provisional sum, describing what it is, baggage handling or whatever, and an estimate is put beside it. But when the matter is procured, when it is put out to tender, let's say you have a provisional sum of 1 million, it could come in at $500,000, it could come in at $1.5 million. So the provisional sum is not exact. The contingencies are for unforeseen events, such as price fluctuations. Now, we very well know, all of us who went through COVID, as I indicated, this contract was signed at the end of January. COVID hit us in March, I think, of 2020, if my memory is correct. So not long after the contract was signed, COVID came, and you would have seen the kind of phenomenal increases in construction costs after COVID. For example, the cost of shipping went up by 1,000%. The cost of shipping a container from China, for example, went from $2,000 US to $20,000 US. That's not the price now, but there was tremendous inflation. The cost of all sorts of things, specialized equipment and so on, doubled. So that in any contract of this nature, this is a FIDIC contract, there will be a clause that allows the contractor to claim for price increases, let's use that word. Price fluctuations is the technical word. So the contractor would have to show that outside of his control, there would have been increases in the cost of certain pieces of equipment and materials, and would make a claim on that basis. This is what the contingency sum is for, among other things. You would also have to look at a claim from the contractor for delays. Again, during COVID, we all lived it. Everything shut down. And then borders closed and so on. So that the total amount allowed in the contract for provisional items, which are the items not fully defined, and the contingency items, which are unforeseen, was $11.5 million US. And the amount that has been agreed on by all concerned, by NIDCO and by all the other consultants looking at this project, is $14 million. And that's where the $2.5 million extra comes from. Of course, the contractor will make other claims. All contractors do that. Often on a project, you might have claims amounting to the original contract sum. You might have a $100 million contract and $100 million in claims. The process is that the employer and the project engineer will look at it and determine what they believe the contractor is entitled to. And if the contractor is not happy with that, it will then go through the dispute resolution process, perhaps ending up in arbitration or litigation, as the case may be. We haven't reached there yet. Right now, the contractor has made claims, and the panel of consultants have concluded that they should pay the contractor $14 million, which is 2.5 over the provided amount of $11.5 million. Down the road, We can't say, I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell you whether some of the other claims of the contractor would be deemed to be valid by a dispute adjudication board or an arbitrator. I can't tell you that.
Can such a dispute lead to a further delay? Is it,
No.
they
No.
must hand over?
Not that. The contractor is being very cooperative, and the contractor is working with us, and you would have heard a word I used inside of here called remarkable. If anybody who's been visiting Tobago over the last year or so, and you looked at what the airport looked like, the project looked like in January and yesterday, the progress over the last 9 months has been absolutely remarkable. We have no issues with the contractor. The contractor is working with us and is pushing hard to complete this project by the March 25 completion date.
Could I ask, the opposition leader would have claimed that subcontractors associated with the project were financiers of the PNM for the general election.
And who are these?
She didn't identify them.
Well,
so,
I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
And she also called
No,
for...
wait, hold on.
Go ahead.
I can't help you with that. Since you don't know who they are, and she didn't say who they are, I certainly don't know who they are. So I'm not going down that rabbit hole, down that dead end into a wild goose chase. What on earth would a criminal investigation be required for? Why? Just because she said so? What is the rationale? Tell me.
Can't speak for the
I mean, I go to the Senate all the time, and Wade Mark calls for forensic criminal investigation into everything. And he's never right. And he has no basis and no evidence for anything. So what on earth is Ms. Bissessa talking about? What is the criminal offense that has been committed that requires a criminal investigation? You tell me. This is completely unlike the Piarco Airport, where the foreign contractor pleaded guilty in a court in United States, went to jail and paid restitution, and now there's a civil matter where a court has awarded an amount of almost equivalent to 1 billion Trinidad dollars to the government of Trinidad and Tobago. What is the crime that has allegedly been committed on this project? I would like to know, because this is just scandalization by the leader of the opposition. I cannot associate myself with the corruption that took place on the Piarco Airport. This project is nothing like that. Nothing like that.
In the interest of transparency, Minister, would we be able to receive the list of the subcontractors to dispel this notion that they are linked to financing?
I am not the employer on the project. The National Infrastructure Development Company is the employer, and the contractor is China Railway. You'd certainly have to pose that question to China Railway. But who are these people the leader of the opposition is talking about? Who? Who are these financiers of the PNM? And I mean, come on. Isn't local content required? Isn't it a requirement that if a foreign contractor is working in Trinidad and Tobago, that they need to maximize local content? So if a Chinese contractor gets a project in the state of Trinidad and Tobago, the Twin Island state, and the project is in Tobago, don't you expect them to hire Tobagonians and suppliers of goods and services in Tobago, and contractors resident in Tobago, and truck drivers in Tobago? Is the leader of the opposition saying every single supplier of goods and services in Tobago is a PNM financier? That's nonsense.
Just going back to the previous question, what role does the Ministry of Works play in the construction of this? Because you said 2025 it's handed over to the Airports Authority. So does the Ministry of Works have nothing to say until it's handed over? What role do they play?
There is a team. Just a minute, I had a brief on that. Just 1 second. There is a project team, and it comprises the following agencies, and they collaborate with the executing agency, NIDCO. Okay? And this project team includes the Civil Aviation Authority, the Airports Authority, and a number of consultants. The reason being that this project has to be given to the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, because it is merely an expansion of the existing Crown Point or A.N. Robinson International Airport. So the purpose of this team is so that the Airports Authority is fully briefed on what's happening. They have submitted to the consultants their, let's call it, commissioning requirements, their commissioning schedule, because the construction will be finished in March of 2025. But then you have to have training, commissioning, testing, and all that sort of thing. And the Airports Authority has indicated that they can launch the new airport terminal in July. That's what they've told us. So the role of the Ministry of Works is to receive the airport. And the Airports Authority, as the agency of the Ministry of Works, has been associated with the project from day one in terms of indicating what the requirements are for the airport.
Line manager.
Ministry of Works.
All right, hold on. I'm trying to do this math here. So you are financing the project, but NIDCO is doing most of. So they are kind of the head body. They are doing all the.
I didn't say they're kind of the head body. They are the employer.
They're the employer.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound rude, but shouldn't Minister Trinidad also be here to be part of this conversation to give his explanation, since a lot of it falls under his ministry?
No, the NIDCO is the executing agency. For example, UDCOT does a lot of projects. UDCOT is doing a new head office building for the Ministry of Social Development, for example. UDCOT is doing a new central block in Port of Spain General Hospital for the Ministry of Health. They're also building the EBC headquarters. They've built a number of police stations, health centers, fire stations, just did a library in La Joqueta, and so on. In those instances, UDCOT is the executing agency. Okay? But UDCOT is an arm of the Office of the Prime Minister. So if I were to follow your argument, and again, NIPDEC, let me give you another example. NIPDEC is an arm of the National Insurance Board. But NIPDEC manages the program for upgrading roads for the Ministry of Works. So these types of arrangements are commonplace, where you have a particular statutory authority or state agency is the executing agency. Just because they report to a particular line ministry for their operational matters, they would not report to that ministry for construction projects. Again, UDCOT does community centers. You follow? So there's no requirement for the Ministry of Works to be the funding agency in this particular case. What I'm just explaining, I've shown you. If your argument was correct, then the Office of the Prime Minister should be involved in every single police station, every single fire station, every community center. No. Even though UDCOT reports to the Office of the Prime Minister, for those projects, they have different employers. Okay?
Minister Members, Honorable Assembly Express. You mentioned that the Ministry of Finance hired 2 external consultants, Gleeds and McDonald. What was the motivating factor to hire these firms, and how much are they being paid?
Okay. Well, I've given you some of the motivating factor, but COVID did have an impact on the project in terms of delays and in terms of cost. And therefore, since we have to find the money for this project, we felt it was necessary to get expert international advice, basically. In terms of what they're being paid, we are very fortunate that CAF, the Andean Development Bank, makes available to the Ministry of Finance every year a certain amount of grant funding for technical assistance. And Mott MacDonald was engaged through a non-reimbursable technical cooperation agreement with CAF, with the CAF Development Bank in 2023, and CAF provided us with a grant of US $100,000 to do their initial work, examination of the project and how it was progressing and so on. And then we had a second non-reimbursable technical cooperation agreement through CAF. Again, they paid Mott MacDonald an additional $100,000. So far, based on the information that I have, Mott has been paid $200,000. Gleeds was also engaged through a non-reimbursable technical cooperation agreement with the CAF Development Bank, and the amounts paid to Gleeds up to August, $140,000, a further $140,000 in September, and $140,000 in October, totaling an amount to date of $421,000. That's it. But to answer your question, because the project was profoundly affected by COVID, as many other projects were, and because it's such an expensive and important project, we felt it was necessary to bring in these high-level expert consultants to make sure that the project didn't get away from us.
What is the sum total of claims that are currently in dispute between China Railway and NEDCO?
I'm not aware there's any dispute. In terms of claims made, I don't have that figure right now. But I'm not aware that there's a dispute. My understanding is negotiations and discussions are continuing with respect to the claims. There's only a dispute when a dispute is reported, where the contractor would report that he has failed to reach agreement with the FIDIC engineer. I'm not aware that that has occurred yet.
Trade unions are intending, Minister, to protest on Saturday.
You are moving to another problem. Please.
Like to...
Let's deal with this airport issue, please. Anybody else?
I do have one more.
Sure.
The news, they had a lovely article where environmentalists were... Paul, you want to answer the
Which one is
The bird one. Okay, so there was an issue that the environmentalists were concerned that because of what that structure, it's not the typical area, birds were seeing it flying and they're saying they were losing birds every day. Have environmentalists come to you with these
I am lost, Mr.
I knew you would be.
Would you be more specific?
So there's an issue an environmentalist raised. There was an
environmentalist raised an issue.
Yes,
right.
of buildings of this nature.
Or buildings of this type, not this building.
Well, this particular building as well, because of where it's being built. So it's not in an urban area. So this building is brand new. It's glass. It's reflective of the trees around it. Birds have been dying, and they were concerned. So
I'm sorry, I can't answer that. Because, I mean, there's no evidence to back up that. But what I would tell you, though, when I went to Paris recently to sign that agreement with the Global Forum to get us off the EU blacklist and so on, I used Terminal 5 at Heathrow as a transit point. It's about 3 times the size of the Tobago airport, and it's all made of glass. So are there no birds in London? I see. I'm sorry, I can't respond. I cannot respond to that. If you look all over the world, I remember going to Singapore airport way back when. I was on my way to Australia for a Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference. This has to be 1995. And I remember going to Singapore airport, which is a huge airport, and it was all made of glass. So that, I mean, around the world, it's quite standard to make airport terminal buildings of glass. Okay, so I can't respond to that at all.
I have a question here. Why did the government not use a foreign consultant from JUMP in terms of, because we spoke about CEP earlier and saying that they may not have been ready. 2 things.
I didn't say that.
Right. I do remember you saying that, but for
no,
whatever
I did
reason,
not say they were not ready. Do not put words into my mouth.
You said it was not a Dolly house.
I said that there are no consultants in Trinidad and Tobago at this time that have the experience of dealing with a project of this nature. I did not say they were not ready.
Okay. But the question is, did you find that out after, or why not?
No, hold on. The employer is the National Infrastructure Development Company, and in keeping with the requirement for local content, NIDCO chose to try and employ as many local firms as possible, and CP did its work. They had a contract for a particular period of time, for a particular sum of money, and they did the work. So I'm not sure where you're going with this. Would you prefer, you said, should we have hired international consultants from the get-go? That would defeat the whole purpose of local content. And as I said, CP did its work. Their contract came to an end, it expired.
Minister, are you pleased with NIDCO's performance on this project?
Well, it's a complicated project, and I am happy that we are looking towards a completion in March. And as I said, there's been remarkable progress over the last 9 months.
Yes or no?
Well, I just answered you.
You said well.
There has been remarkable progress over the last 9 months. The word remarkable means something good, I think. Okay?
Do you think we'll give that airport of that size the use that it requires? Do we have the airlines coming in? I know we're building it with the hope that the airlines will come in, but are we getting that sort of engagement and excitement now that we're moving forward building it?
Well, the answer is yes, obviously, to the last part of your question. But I mean, come on. Tobago has needed a proper international airport since I have been elected in 1991. And there have been many attempts over the years by successive governments, by NER governments, well, in fact, before I was elected, by NER governments, by UNC governments, by PNM governments. And all I could say is I'm proud and happy to be associated with this project, which is giving Tobago the type of airport it needs for its future development to build its tourism. As you would have seen in some of the photographs, we are now going to have loading bridges for aircraft for the first time in Tobago to accept international aircraft, 777 aircraft and so on, jumbo jets and so on. And this, to me, is taking aviation in Tobago and tourism in Tobago into the 21st century. And I am happy to be part of this gift to the nation. And yes, when you look at all airports around the world, all of them, the construction of an airport, a modern airport, is a catalyst for economic activity, job creation, and national development. So, yes, I do think this airport will be utilized. Yes, I think it's a tremendous boost to the economy and people of Tobago and Trinidad to that as well. It's a tremendous boost for tourism, and I am very happy to be associated with this and part of the government that took the decision to proceed to build a proper international airport in Tobago.
In any of its report to the Ministry of Finance provided like a forecast overspend on authorized expenditure to the tune of US 67 million. Is this accurate or inaccurate?
I've seen that number, and I tried to find out what that number meant. And I'm still at a little quandary to understand what it means. It could be that this is the claims that the contractor is preparing, who knows. But that's not the point. A contractor could claim anything. It at the end of the day is whether the claims are justified and the payment is appropriate.
We're claiming up to $200 million. And
at this point in time, I can't say. What I can say is that the consultants have agreed to $14 million US, which is already more or less part of the contract. And I don't want to get into that. Remember, claims are sensitive matters. I don't want to make a comment on the claims of the contractor. That is for the consultants to deal with. I don't want to say anything here that might prejudice the outcome of a dispute resolution process. And next thing I see myself on affidavit. So I don't want to get into that. There are experts here to deal with these matters. There's a process. It's in the contract. And as a minister, it's not my job to get involved in that.
Minister, and as it relates to payment schedules, are you able to say if they have been paid in full, or is it that a certain percentage will be withheld until the project is completed?
Well, in any project of this nature, there's retention. It's usually about 5%. Okay?
There's another document circulating about projected payments up until March, totaling some $178 million.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. What I do know is that the current approval that $14 million approval was designed to keep the contractor in funds, to keep him working on the project, and he will submit his invoices in a normal manner. This is a $128 million project. We haven't spent $128 million yet. Okay? So there's more money to be spent.
Shift gears now.
Well, I don't know. I didn't come here to discuss anything else. So whatever questions you have, just keep them tight and on point.
Tight and on point. Okay. Minister of Finance, Con Imber. We have JTAM calling on the population to mobilize outside of Whitehall on Saturday because they are upset with the government's acceptance of the SRC report for salary increases, while unions receive 4%, a 4% offer. Any change from the government on that 4% offer?
Which 4%?
To the unions, they're saying, because they've been asking for more even before accepting.
Are you
some
sure
of
you
them.
know what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm sure I know.
Because the fire service, the prison service, the police service, the defense force,
they accepted,
and tutor accepted the 4%. So which 4% are you referring to?
But what they're saying.
No, could you answer my question, please?
Yeah, well, I'm getting to that. What the unions are saying
Which
is
unions?
that JTAM and the NATOC and
wait a minute, hold on. Those are not unions. Those are umbrella organizations.
Which represent.
Hold on. Hold on. The public sector unions that were offered a 4% wage increase are the Public Services Association, the National Union of Government and Federated Workers, the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, the Police Association, the Prison Association, Defense Force. Okay? Which union are you talking about?
Specifically, we have postal workers, for example,
No,
protesting.
they are not part of the public service.
Right. But they're calling, Minister, you would appreciate, on the population at large to mobilize outside JTAM. This is the Joint Trade Union Movement calling on the population at large to mobilize, because they are saying that all unions are standing in solidarity, that they are not pleased with the original 4% offer in the first place, and they believe that they should also get more.
I don't really understand what you're saying.
So the question...
Wait a minute, let me say what I am saying.
Sure.
The government offered public servants and the protective services and teachers a 4% increase, and most of those trade unions accepted that 4%. We are now in the process of offering a further 5%. So I am not sure about what you are talking about. You have to be more specific.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, so at there was a conference at Tibu this week, and the unions that were present were SWWTU.
We have not made any offer to... Wait, hold on. We have not made any offer to SWTU. We have not made any offer to TU.
Prison Officers Association.
The Prison Officers Association accepted the 4%.
The communication workers.
We have not made any offer to communication workers.
The people who represent SWIMCOL.
Pardon?
The people who represent SWIMCOL, industrial and sanitation workers, NUGFW, and Estate Police and Postal Workers Union, and one of the...
Yeah, but don't mix matters.
But one of their asks...
Wait a minute. Do not mix matters. I want to be very clear. The government through the CPO has offered certain trade unions 4% for a particular period, and most trade unions accepted that. The government now through the CPO is arranging to offer the same trade unions 5% for another period. I am not sure about what you are talking, so could you crystallize your question, please?
Well, in addition to what Therese was asking, at this press conference, the unions that had accepted the 4% are asking for government to reopen negotiations on those periods and increase...
I am terribly sorry. What is your name, Miss Polo?
No, I am Paula Linda.
Paula Linda. She's Polo?
She's Polo.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm telling you.
I have no idea what you are talking about. You are saying, you are reporting something. I am telling you that an offer was made to certain trade unions and they accepted it and they signed the collective agreement. I don't really understand what you're asking me.
All right, Minister, let me.
Therese, this will be the last and then we have to end at that point.
That's a bigger question.
Can I get a
Regarding
question?
the airport.
No, but come on, please be specific with these questions about collective negotiations. I mean, if a union has accepted an offer and signed a collective agreement, I really can't respond to an allegation that somebody in some meeting said they want to reopen. I can't respond to that.
Do you have any thoughts on the protest itself?
I have no idea which protest are you referring
They're
to?
upset because the government
Mr. Haynes, I have no idea what you're talking about. Be specific.
Right. So the unions are upset because government plans to accept the SRC report, and that's why they're protesting. Do you have any, especially while negotiations are still ongoing? What are your thoughts on
I
that?
believe the Honourable Prime Minister came to a press conference some time ago and outlined the government's position on that matter, and I have nothing to add.
Minister, from a personal perspective, though, how do you feel to be...
I had asked, we do have, and it is my apologies, I did. Well, you have also asked quite a lot of questions during the press conference. I don't think you will. But we do have a tight schedule.
Who shut you down? Wait.
Working class
Hold on, Mr. Tiwari. Who shut you down? Who?
Of course, you, Minister.
I shut you down?
Yes, several times.
I'm sorry, I can't accept that.
Minister, you're taking home a $5,000 increase while most of the working class claim to be struggling. Parents like myself ducking lessons, teacher, are you struggling to go to the grocery to put food on the table? From a personal perspective, how does it feel? And people are clamoring on your door as finance minister.
I believe, and this is how I just answered Kijan, the Prime Minister had a press conference last week and dealt with that matter. I have nothing to add.
And that's where we end.
The meeting before it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ending now.
There's
Thank
multiple
you,
questions coming here.
Minister.
Just one on foreign exchange.
Hold on. Yes, I do plan to offer myself a Digomata Northeast, so that will stop your newspaper friends from making mischief. And I have already met with the banks, and I do intend to meet with the chambers during this month. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. We thank you for joining us on air and online. We thank the members of the media